with a background also in human and cyber collection. A lot of ones and zeros in that background. I volunteer as Director of Digital Forensics for Operation Safe Escape and a Cyber Threat Intelligence Manager at a company that if I mentioned, then I'd have to go through board approval to give the talk, so we won't mention their name. My introduction to the DefCon Voting Machine Village was in July of 2017. I was in Las Vegas for an e-discovery data recovery contract. I had my full forensic toolkit with me after gathering the data from the client. And unfortunately, on the last day is when I first found the voting machine village with Harry. I approached him and told him I had my kit with me. It was a Mac laptop, external hard drives with Macquisition and Blacklight, now part of Celebrite. Harry was pretty excited to find he had an attendee that had a full professional kit with him. Most people don't bring that to DEF CON, and I don't blame them. I generally don't travel with forensic gear either. I mean, that's just not a thing people do. The machine Harry brought me was a WinVote machine, and it was last updated in 2001, as you can see from the screenshot. I took the machine, I imaged it, and then began analyzing it. So there are no security updates. This was put into use in 2001, and the last use of the machine was 2014 in Virginia. Harry acquired the machine from eBay on the secondary market, and this is generally where we get the devices. Aftermarket sales, nothing nefarious to get in the machines whatsoever. Looking at it, one of the first things you look for internet connections was going to the logs. Log files don't lie. So we can see here, this is the machine in 2017. We see WSFTP log. So doing a strings command on that on my forensic laptop, we can see that the Office 97 database. To give that some example, I was designing Access 97 databases for enterprise production use. A former employer for 3 years, definitely took that off my resume. To give that some example, my kids were 17 when I looked at this device, and we're looking at something almost 20 years in use, which is phenomenal for a software package, but I don't think that's the goal of software, is to have a long, healthy lifespan. We're supposed to update and keep things patched. So editorial aside, we can see that the files were sent from the machine to ftp@infocom.com, the Ryan/Debbie directory on the FTP server. So you have the ballot logs, the machine tally, the touch vote database, and the different languages available. These are sent. It was a one-time transmission from my analysis from the machine to Infocom. I contacted a friend. I feel like, we're talking about Pawn Stars here. Hey, I know a guy. One of my friends formerly worked at CNN as a researcher, and we were texting, talking. He looked up Infocom. He found that it was based in Calgary, Canada. The legal name of it, the president, the design of the system, that registration, IP address, everything from this machine, looking here, went to a Canadian server. It's all test data apparently, but that was still an interesting note. Enough to get some reporters to come by, take notes of this. It was noteworthy. Harry and I stayed in contact. The next year we we adjusted the process to definitely make this more accessible, to include more analysts. More minds looking at it is always better than one person. The group of us is always smarter than one of us, generally. So looking at this, we have the collection model, examination, machine analysis, and then reporting. This is the model we have in use and have since 2018 for the Voting Machine Village. A little bit of background for someone who's new to this. Lacard's exchange for the forensic principles: a perpetrator will bring something into a crime scene and leave with something from it. whether it's digital, the prints of how the rogue software was put on the machine, or the software that was the files that were deleted from the machine or exfiltrated, there's always going to be a record. Even on a Mac, I'm a Mac forensic person, really, not a Windows. There are far more Windows practitioners when the iPhone came out. I went a different route, studied the Mac and studied the iPhone rather than just being one of hundreds studying the Windows machines. Not to get too much on a side rant, I've had a lot of coffee today. I feel like Matt Foley, motivational speaker. The Mac numbers every file, so if there's a gap, that would indicate there's a file that's been deleted from the machine. We'll touch on that in a minute, or as the White House would say, we'll circle back. First pillar of forensic processing: no action taken by agencies or their agents should change data on a computer or storage media that may be relied on in court. You can't change the evidence and then submit it. That goes against the Constitution. That goes against, well, maybe not Constitution. That's more of a Matt Blaze. He knows law. I do forensics. I misspoke. In exceptional circumstances, when a person finds it necessary to access the data on the computer or storage media, that person must be competent to do so and give evidence explaining the relevance and implications of their actions. Why did you access the device? What were you looking for? What was your charter? Whereas law enforcement may be a very specific set of data. We're looking for text messages between January 6th to January 7th, 2021, as opposed to the intelligence community where it's a triage method. We want immediate threats to the handling case officer, to American interest, and then to our allies. We have a triage, but we still do it quickly. Is this anything notorious that we need to, not notorious, urgent that we need to publish immediately to warn people, a duty to warn that there could be something, something bad coming, for lack of a better word. An audit trail of the record of the process is applied to the evidence should be created and preserved. An independent third party should be able to examine those processes and achieve the same result. We've got this achieved as well at the Voting Machine Village. The person in charge of the investigation, the case officer, has overall responsibility for ensuring the law and adhering to these principles. Judicial guidelines don't apply here. This isn't a court of law. We're not looking at evidence, but we treat every drive as though something could be there before we handle it. If you plan, what do they say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We treat this just as if this is our regular day job, treating this as if this was an insider threat or an incident response case. So we have a set of procedures. Before the general public analyzes the machine, before the general public not only analyzes it before they can touch it, disassemble it, look at code, run burp suite, we get the drives, we image them with our write blockers. Once I image the device, a second, third person will also image the same thing. We compare values, make sure we are on point, that everything is identical. Once those are done, the voting machines are released to the general public for analysis or whatever they want to do with them. All investigations are done on digital copies. I like to have a modified PACE plan: primary, alternate, contingent, and emergency. A little bit too much for DefCon. We don't have time over 4 days to have 4 copies, have it original preserved, and then work off the backups. We do record off the back. We do analyze the backups. We don't work on the main drive, period. We image the drives using one of two things: Macquisition or FTK Imager. We use a write blocker. The drives are imaged too. A DMG for Mac, a virtual hard disk for Windows, and they go to external media. The physical images are in a read-only format to prevent Murphy's Law, to prevent anything nefarious from happening, to have data cross-contamination bled over. If something was found that would hit the newspaper, we have done our best to confirm the data presented is accurate. It only takes a split second to lose your reputation, lose the reputation. For the Voting Machine Village, we're not going to do that. The tools that we use: autopsy by basis, blacklight, formerly by Black Bag, now part of Celebrite, disk drill, FTK imagers freeware, Macquisition, again by Black Bag, now with Celebrite, Magnet Axiom, and Red Reaper to look at the registry files uploaded, downloaded on a Windows machine. It's a fantastic way to get a baseline of what has occurred on a machine at any given moment in time. Here's a shot of the forensic imaging using blacklight. We can see the images being copied from the external drive to 34.dmg. Why we named that, I don't know. I'm sure we had great reasons back in 2018. The reason we take such meticulous steps to preserve the evidence before it's released to the general public: once it's out there and someone loads Rick Astley into the voting machine and it hits the news, ooh, they hacked the voting machine. They didn't hack it. You loaded Astley.mp3 on a machine you had physical access with 4 days of time. That's not hacking. That's just loading a file. Don't church it up, right? Funny. It might get viewers, but this isn't the intent of the village. This is just what could be done. We take the machine after we've analyzed it professionally with blacklight, with autopsy, with magnet axiom. I personally like to take the machine, going back to the old CIA whole person, whole drive theory, and run disk drill, find all the deleted files in swap space, slack space that weren't overwritten to see if there's anything that was on the drive that might be malicious. The one thing we did find, I don't have a copy here, that wasn't my data, one of my colleagues found it, was a Chinese MP3 from the factory image on the Windows machine. That's been documented, sent to, I believe, a report to Congress. You know, we're not live. This is being recorded live from the glorious hotel room. This is something that Harry can speak to better. He found it, the scribes can, excuse me. The scribes made note of it. It went to the record. We did some analysis after the fact. We had a hypothesis. Here's our screenshot of the hacked machine on Fox News. This one's mine. We took a machine, extracted the hard drive using our toolkits, removed it, properly imaged it as said, put the device back in, and wanted to look at the actual machine itself. We found the device username and password for the premier WinVote system. I believe this is WinVote. The device username and password was available online. The device admin name and password were also available online, so we could not only access it as admin, but we could get to the security controls. The reason these are published online for anyone to view is because of state sunshine laws. They don't need to have secrets for whatever reason. The laws haven't caught up to digital privacy yet. I'll go ahead and get to the picture here. We bypassed this image over here. I don't know if the mouse will show up. And we were able to see there is a hash code list of every file on the machine. That's good, right? Right? We can see the file name. We can see the file hash value. Cool. Can we save it to USB and do a diff just like a NERC audit? Or here's the baseline, here are the audited findings, and see if there's anything different? No, we can't do that. This machine does not allow the exportation, is that a word? Exporting of material to a drive for physical analysis. It prints 56 pages of paper. We didn't do that. We didn't have time, energy, ink, or paper to waste. I don't know about you. Looking at typing 56 pages of hash codes to see if there's any malicious action on the machine, either OCR, or you're going to trust that 56 pages of data is going to be OCR imaged accurately, or having someone retype it. I'm lucky to get my credit card number right or my Sky Miles number right at the kiosk checking in for the flight to Vegas, let alone something with such a long string. So our hypothesis was, if we alter the drive, if we change the welcome screen, any file, is there tamper detection? Yes, we can see the list. That's cool. But does it actually work? This isn't forensic analysis. This is more security analysis. Realize that. So what we did, we changed the header from the Premier voting machine, same size, same ratio, realizing that hitting the exact hash value is mathematically impossible. It's like finding two identical grains of sand on a beach. Good luck. So we took it, we added the DefCon logo, we added my friend Akinji Seven's logo from Georgia Tech alumni board, and we added the big cry emoji. So let's see what happens here. Okay, cool. There it is. It loads. And we get a warning that says, this machine has been tampered with. Contact your voting official. But you can still bypass and vote on it despite the fact it's had an issue. Our forensic findings for the devices examined at the DerCon Voting Village. Caveat there, this is the absolute value of the machines we've looked at. You're reading ahead, I know that. We haven't found evidence of foreign interference. We didn't find anything for domestic interference. No malware, that's good, but also no security updates on the machines ever. As Matt and Harry have taught me, the machines are controlled by different companies, not naming them for liability reasons. Each software update per device, per file, is charged to the county responsible for machines. They don't have the budget to update it. There is no internet connectivity on the machines. We haven't seen any of the traditional malware, things like that. Definitely not Log4j. Thank goodness that's not there, or Print Nightmare. There's no encryption of the output. The files are written to vote.txt on a removable drive. That really bothers me. Users vote on the administrator account. So there's an admin account and a guest account. With the admin account, they have the ability to come and make modifications, yes, but as a choosing my words carefully, as a officer of many years who've done a lot of things, can versus should are two different things. Yes, they can have access, not can versus should. They do have access. They could do this. But being time on target in front of the voting officials to take a USB drive, insert it while the machine's live and present in use to modify the machine is not technically feasible. You don't have time to do this unobserved. If this was in an ops plan, if this was in a cable, we have 30 seconds to load the drive, switch over out of the voting machine, voting app, load the, I don't want to say spyware, load the collection tool. How about that? Load the collection tool, switch back to the voting machine, collect the data, pull the drive out, and do this without any notice from the voting official. I wouldn't approve the cable. I wouldn't approve the op. It's not feasible. The person who would propose it has been watching too many movies. The USB ports are accessible, yes. That is a problem. I don't like that. There's no firewall or antivirus program present on the machine, period. There's no audit trail for the drives. Running one of the machines through blacklight, you can see all the USB devices, which is fantastic for, say, an insider threat. You can see this person connected the USB drive, downloaded this file, ejected it. That's available through McAfee DLP for one, that's very simple to find out. Then you can see if that USB serial number has been plugged into any other drives. There's no audit trail whatsoever. We've seen the one machine, hundreds of devices connected, but no rogue malware has been found. Just mice, keyboards, the standard peripheral devices. We haven't found any voter information, no personal identifying information, period, on the machine. We have not found on these devices, we did not find any evidence of tampering, full stop. The intelligence community in the United States, the standards policies dictate that covert software is tightly controlled. It's not left for public access. Debating if I want to go into an example or not here. In a training class where, yes, we were being pulled over by law enforcement. I took the USB drive that had the, quote, sensitive data, put it underneath the middle well of the car where the transmission goes. There's a spot where the carpet meets the plastic. Put the USB drive there. FBI took the car apart, looked for it, couldn't find it. We told them later where we hid it in the hot wash. The last task got it at 3 in the morning. Flight took off from the city at 6. Last task we were given to pass training was to find the USB drive before we turned the car in. Would not recommend doing that ever again. It was awkward. But even then, just for an unclassified drive, the effort to get that USB stick back in positive control made an impression. The two-person handling rule would increase confidence in results. If you're transporting sensitive materials, cash, generally it takes 2 people to travel from the headquarters site to an outbuilding somewhere else. It's in a locked bag, inside a backpack, something like that. It's not just stuck in your coat pocket. Well, you could lose your clearance, lose your job, but you could do it. So the one way to easily assuage the public that things are a little bit better, have Party A representative, Party B representative, a deputy, law enforcement, a neutral party, to put the vote.txt file on removable media in a lock bag under 2-person control with law enforcement driving that to the precinct where it's uploaded for further analysis. Something that simple would just show that 100 votes for candidate A, 200 votes for candidate B aren't switched to be 300 votes for A, 0 for B. That'd be very simple to do in a car with the, it wouldn't be difficult whatsoever. Again, that's not hacking, that's flat out tampering and fraud. Lock bags, other tamper material evidence are very inexpensive. Even something as simple as a electronic slide tie that has a serial number imprinted on there. That would be one way traveling overseas if you want to make sure your luggage stays sealed while you're in the hotel room. If it has a serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on there, the cord's cut, and then the next zip tie that's around the lock on your bag has no number, you know someone's been in your bag because that one unique code is gone. Again, simple solutions that wouldn't make anyone a ton of money, any money, but just the very simple solutions to secure that vote.txt file from A to B is possible. Last slide, Voting Machine Village, I can't talk. I'm getting tired. Voting machines are imaged before the public examines the drives. We haven't found any evidence of tampering. Handling the raw vote file for data validation might help the situation. We're not talking about who's voted. We're not talking about mail-in ballots. We're not talking about rerunning ballots. We're just talking about the actual machines in front of us at DefCon. All the findings that we have validated by a third party. And then when that's validated, we do contact the scribes on site. They make note, they describe what's happened, and that goes into the formal report. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time.